Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're jumping right into a crucial skill for navigating the modern internet, protecting your mind by thinking like a digital investigator. Look, we are all constantly flooded with hot takes, breaking news, and social media outrage. But what if, instead of getting swept away by the tidal wave of content, you could instantly spot the invisible strings pulling at your emotions? Today's explainer is all about bringing the hidden tactics of propagandists into the light. We're going to learn how to make an educated guess about exactly who is attacking you, completely regardless of what the actual propaganda says.
We've structured this explainer just like a classic detective's dossier, using the means, motive, and opportunity framework. We'll be walking through 1. The informational battlefield. 2. The motive. Why attack us? 3. The means. Their weapons of influence. 4. The opportunity, our own cognitive vulnerabilities. And 5. How we build lasting cognitive security.
Section 1. The informational battlefield. Are you under cognitive attack right this very second? I know it sounds like a super dramatic question, but the reality is we encounter massive amounts of sophisticated propaganda and disinformation every single day. If you've ever felt a sudden, unexplainable surge of online rage, or just overwhelming exhaustion when looking at the news, you really have to ask yourself, am I being targeted by invisible adversaries?
Here's the trap we usually fall into. When we get hit with falsehoods, our first instinct is to react to the content itself. We try to fact-check endless lies. But doing that is totally exhausting, and honestly, it plays right into the attacker's hands. What we need to do instead is shift our mindset toward profiling the attacker. By making an educated guess about their means, motive, and opportunity, you're actually preparing a much stronger, strategic psychological defense for your daily life.
Look at this framing from a Rand Corporation study. They define the information environment as an active space, literally a battlefield involving individuals, organizations, and systems. In this space, state-sponsored actors and their proxies launch what they call information efforts. Their goal isn't just to tell you a lie. It's to deeply influence, disrupt, corrupt, or outright hijack your decision-making processes.
Which brings us to Section 2, Motive. Why attack us in the first place?
Before we can put up our mental firewalls, we have to understand what these unseen adversaries actually want. And it turns out, they aren't always trying to convince you to support a specific political policy. Often, their goals are way broader and far more systemic than that.
Our sources show these motives are actually all over the map, depending on who's behind the keyboard. State actors, for example, often aim for political paralysis. They literally want to exhaust you so deeply that you just completely disengage from civic life. Or they want polarization, splitting society into hostile, fractured camps. On the flip side, research into artificial intelligence misalignment reveals completely different motives. A misaligned AI might manipulate information just to maximize a digital reward score, gain power, or basically just avoid being shut down by its human creators.
Here is where human attackers get really insidious. They rely heavily on a concept called reflexive control. They want to prime you to view other people as a monolithic, one-dimensional enemy. Because if they can collapse a complex, diverse group of people into a flat, homogeneous caricature, they can effectively control your reflexes. They control your reactions, making you incredibly easy to manipulate. Let's move on to Section 3, Means, the weapons of influence. So how exactly are they hacking our cognition? They aren't just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. They're using highly specific clinical tools of psychological manipulation. These techniques are custom-built to completely bypass your logic centers and just strike directly at your emotions. First up is a primary weapon known as glittering generalities. Both ends of the political spectrum are absolute masters of this because, well, it works. Our sources highlight famous campaign phrases like Barack Obama's "change we can believe in" or Donald Trump's "make America great again." Now, these phrases sound warm, they sound fuzzy and inspiring, but notice how they lack any substantial, specific claims. They allow the listener to just project their own personal desires onto the message without demanding a single shred of concrete evidence. Next is a classic advertising trick called transfer. This relies entirely on the emotional baggage of a deeply positive symbol, maybe a national flag, a religious symbol, or even a beloved athlete. By visually or linguistically linking a totally unrelated product or idea to that powerful symbol, the attacker subconsciously transfers all your positive feelings over to whatever it is they're trying to push. Then we get into the much darker stuff.
name-calling, and scapegoating. Instead of debating actual policy, the propagandist links an opponent to a highly negative symbol, while they blame an entire complex societal issue on one single vulnerable group. By calling opponents juvenile names or framing them as the ultimate villain, the attacker hopes he'll bypass logic entirely and just react with pure rejection and disgust.
And of course, attackers absolutely love the plain folks technique. You see this all the time when highly elite politicians or massive corporations try to portray themselves as being aligned with the everyday person. It manufactures this completely false sense of trust and relatability, tricking the average consumer into thinking the propagandist deeply understands their daily struggles.
Now, when foreign adversaries scale these tricks up to a state level, they create what's known as a fire hose of falsehood. They rapidly and continuously blast out tailored disinformation, fake online personas, and hack and leak operations just to totally overwhelm the audience. And the craziest part? They are completely unbothered by objective reality.
All right, on to Section 4, Opportunity. Our cognitive vulnerabilities. What vulnerabilities inside our own minds give them the opening they need? The wild thing about the most effective propaganda is that it doesn't usually work by forcing totally new ideas into your head. Instead, it relies on our natural human instincts, our existing biases, and our inherent cognitive limits to take root and flourish.
Let's actually map this dynamic out. Are you totally overwhelmed by information? Well, attackers exploit that exact feeling with their fire hose of falsehood. Are you relying on mental shortcuts because you're just plain tired? They counter that with endless repetition of familiar themes. They look for deep-seated identity cleavages in society, and then they deploy tailored disinformation specifically designed to widen those cracks. They are literally hacking the human operating system.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Building Cognitive Security.
So, how do we actually defend ourselves in our daily lives? The research points to 3 very clear, actionable steps. Step 1 is forewarning. Proactively prime yourself with facts so the incoming lies are at an immediate disadvantage. Step 2, look for the M.M.O. When a social media post makes you absolutely furious, pause and make an educated guess about the attacker's means, motive, and opportunity. And step 3, call out the manipulation tactic itself rather than arguing with the fake content. Make the invisible visible, and you neutralize the hack.
This quote from the Rand Corporation hits the nail on the head. Cognitive security isn't about just winning some random online argument. Our very system of society depends on finding consensus with people who are different from us. If we allow informational attackers to permanently polarize us and put us in little boxes, the whole system breaks down.
So I'm going to leave you with this thought. The very next time you're doom scrolling and feel that sudden, intense spike of outrage, fear, or a desire to just completely write off a whole group of your fellow citizens, stop. Take a breath. Ask yourself, who is the attacker here? What psychological weapon are they using on me right now? And what is their true motive for hacking my mind today? Keep your defenses up, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.